Hello guys, welcome back onto the Dutch Couch. I'm going to talk about Newcastle. We know last season they won the Carabao Cup, they finished 5th in the Premier League, qualified for the Champions League, right? Great job Eddie Howe done there last season. No denying that, brilliant job. This season, for me, they just don't seem the same. There seems so many players off of it. They just look miles off it for me. And they're currently sitting 13th in the Premier League, right? But saying that, they're only 6 points off on the top four. So on the face of it, it's no crisis. But I'm looking deeper into this. I'm just looking at these players. I'll go back to yesterday's game first, right, before I go into more detail. But that game at West Ham yesterday summed them up at the moment for me. What surprised me was the last couple of seasons, Newcastle have been built on fight, desire, passion, top mentality. Every player looking for the ball. They all look like a well-oiled machine. Yesterday, they lacked all of that. They looked like a load of strangers thrown on a pitch. There was no idea, lack of ideas. The wide players on the whole offered nothing. In midfield, they absolutely, this is the thing that surprised me most, they absolutely got bossed in midfield. It was unbelievable. Joe Linton, Guimaraes and Tonali, they were miles off it. You had a youngster in there, Freddie Potts, a young player from West Ham. I thought he was one of the best players on the pitch. He looked so comfortable. And for a midfield that strong, there's something missing there. It's just not right at all. All these things Newcastle are usually so great at. The mentality is usually so good there. They looked poorly coached yesterday. That's one of the first times I've seen Newcastle look poorly coached. There was no urgency, even when they was behind. They got that early goal. This was the problem yesterday. Newcastle got that early goal. They went to the London Stadium where West Ham hadn't won for like sort of 9 months at home or whatever. They got the early goal and thought, you know what? Piece of piss this. We'll win this easy. Complacency was their undoing yesterday. They thought they'd turn up and roll them over. Unfortunately, in the Premier League, you have to earn points. No one hands them on a plate to you. And I think the attitude yesterday, it stunk actually. Newcastle's players' attitude stunk yesterday. If they showed half the passion that the Toon Army fans do, they would have got something yesterday. They deserved everything they got, which was nothing. They had that long trip back up north, empty-handed, fully deserved from West Ham. You can't take that away from that early goal. That early goal, I think, was a bad thing because I think that absolutely made the mentality even worse. The attitudes were terrible. They've won 3 league games in 10, right? The 3 league games they've won beat a terrible Wolves team who have still only got 2 points in the Premier League. They beat the Nottingham Forest of Ange Postecoglou. They beat Angie's Forest, who dreadful anyway. He lasted about 36 days or whatever it was. And they beat Fulham at home with a last minute Guimaraes goal. So this for me shows a total difference in mentality. Massively. Away from home. I think they've got 3 points from 15 away from home. With the players that Newcastle have got, and the way that they carried themselves last year and fought for every ball, this is night and day. There's a lot of points here that just don't add up for me with this squad of players, the coaching staff that you've got there. The fan base, I've said it on other videos, the fan base are incredible. The stadium's incredible. Football in the North East is incredible. And these fans will give you everything. But I'm even seeing online now, and part of me doesn't blame them. I do think Eddie Howe sort of earned a bit of time with what he produced last season. He's got your Champions League football again. He's brought your first trophy for, was it a century or whatever it was. Incredible achievement, right? And you beat Liverpool in the final, which I know now, after this Isaac affair, will mean even more to Newcastle fans than it already did. Brilliant achievement. I think he's earned a little bit of time. But that will only take him so far. Because football now is unforgiving. You don't get time. What he's earned, he's using up now with his poor performances. And it's getting worse. I mean, even games like when you lost at home to Arsenal in the last minute. Couldn't see that coming. Poor game management. I think Nick Pope kicks it out or makes a mistake or something. Poor game management. Same with Liverpool at home. I know I've got to say on another video, I did say it, Newcastle were brilliant that day. With 10 men, against Liverpool. But they went chasing a winner and got picked off at the end after all their hard work. The game management, I think, has been poor this season. I think some of the decisions of Eddie Howe have been poor. Certain tweaks during games, team selections. But that yesterday, I don't think that was down to the team selection. I think that was just down to rotten attitude from the players that were put out there and the players that come on. It was dreadful. I'm looking, they just look passive. I know they've beat Benfica and Union Saint-Gilloise in the Champions League, sorry. Make no mistake, them two teams are poor. They're bottom half of the Premier League teams. Union Saint-Gilloise, I'm not even sure if they're that, even though they beat Ajax last year. But yeah, we'll go past that fault. I think what makes it worse is that Sunderland are doing so well as well. And for me, they look a well-oiled machine. They look everything that Newcastle don't at the moment. It makes no sense to me. It makes no sense. It's getting to the point now where I'm seeing online people talking about Eddie Howe. Eddie Howe out. How long can this go on? I get it. I totally understand it. I do think he's a top coach. Do I think he's got the personality? I think when you manage a team and you want to go to that next step, I think you've got to have the personality and the star quality to get them to that next level. I really do. I'm not sure. I'm still not sure of this. But what I've got to say, obviously, when you win a cup, it's natural. The fans expect more. They want to kick on. They don't just want to win that League Cup and go, I see it. We'll wait another 100 years. That's no problem. None of us will be here anyway, so we don't care. No, you want to keep moving on. You want to keep progressing. The problem you've got is, I've said on another Newcastle video before, they are being held back by the financial restraints, the fair play financial stuff, because we keep hearing that we know they're the richest club in the world by a million miles apparently, right? They've got so much money behind them, they can blow everyone out of the water. They're not being able to. No fault of their own. Basically, Arsenal, City, Liverpool, Chelsea, these clubs, they can gazump you. They'll sign anyone, spend as much money as they want, it seems, and just carry on. And the problem with that is, how do you bridge the gap? How do Newcastle, from where they are now, they sat in 5th in the Premier League, how do they improve on that? Consistently. This is the problem. I think they finished 4th a couple of years ago to get in the Champions League. How do they improve on that? Because those teams, for me, in my opinion, the gap will only widen now. Newcastle are going to be sort of challenging in 6th, 7th, 5th, 6th, 7th. They're around that area. And I can't see them consistently breaking into that top 4 or even competing for the title the way it's going. The financial restraints are not going to allow it. And I don't think people want to allow it, sadly, for Newcastle. I'd like to get Newcastle fans' opinion on that. Do you think you're being held back? Personally, I do. I know you don't make the money globally, commercially and naturally like the other clubs do. But I do think if you've got the money, let you spend it. Let you gazump the cartel club, shall we say, in my opinion. This is the sort of club I look at and I go, because I love to see the big boys upset. And I love this club. This sort of club, I look at them and go, yeah, go on then. Go and knock them off their perch. I'd love to see it. I really would love to see it. It's hard. It's going to be impossible, in my opinion. It's totally impossible. Eddie Howe, I think he's a very good coach, and he is going to need all of that now to turn things around. Because once you get into a rut, and I don't think they've played fluent football. What surprises me is how poor they are away from home. I don't think they've won a game in, I might have read this wrong, a game in 7 months away from home. I know we had the summer. But it makes no sense to me in the respect that you've got all those wide players with absolutely pace to burn. So away fixtures for me, with the midfield you've got as well, that can control the game, to have those wide players with the pace you've got, to be so poor away from home makes no sense, because I think it should go the other way. I think you should be thriving away from home with the players that you've got. Playing on the break, let the opposition have control of the game and rip them apart, like Forest did last season. They had the wide players. You've got one of their wide players now, and I think he will settle. It's going to take him time, in my opinion. He's going to be a top player for you. He's a Newcastle sort of player for me, a winger who gets supporters off their feet. I think it'll be a great signing for you. Another one that's really surprised me, Anthony Gordon. I've got to say, I've been so disappointed in him. He's so inconsistent. He's miles off it. I don't think he's ever really had any consistency for a long period of time. I'm reading that he's gone 18 or 19 games without a goal or assist. And I know I'm not a stats padder on this channel, But that don't look good. That's not good when you're a winger. You're not supplying. You're not supplying. What are you giving? What are you actually giving the team? It's all right being a fast runner, but ultimately the aim of the game is to score goals. And as a winger, you're going to be a provider, and you've got to chip in with goals as well. If you're not doing that, that's a problem. And your place in the team's got to be under question, in my opinion. I think Joe Linton's miles off it. Doesn't look the same player. Really doesn't. It surprised me. I think the recruitment, before recruitment, I've got to say, that green kit, what is that all about? Even when I watch Newcastle on telly, or television, when I watch Newcastle in games, I'm looking at that green kit. And it might sound really silly, but I'm thinking, what is that? That's not Newcastle. It just doesn't scream Newcastle for me. Maybe I'm old and nostalgic, but that just doesn't scream Newcastle for me. Not at all. I think the recruitment's been a mixed bag. A total mixed bag. Wissa. I think that was a waste. I don't know if they were sure of the amount of the injury, the time of injury that he had there, but I think I might be wrong in saying, tell me if I'm wrong, I'm sure they could have got him in the summer for free. It's next summer coming, and signed a pre-contract in January. But they've paid whatever they have on him. Silly money. Was it 60 million or something like that? 50, 60 million. He's not kicked a ball yet. And you've paid someone, you're paying their wages, he's not involved. That made no sense for me. And I personally don't think he's a Newcastle player anyway. It just doesn't, never struck me as a Newcastle player when they was going in for him, and he was really wanting to move. Walter Marler, for me, is a Newcastle player. He's a proper number 9. But even though he's big and great in the air, obviously, I think he's great with his feet. I think he's an all-round really good addition. But those wide players, I think you're finding a huge problem at the moment. For me, this is the biggest problem. You probably don't want to hear about Alexander Isak, right? He acted like an absolute plonker in the summer. He acted like a fool to get his move. He got his dream move. And it's gone great for him, hasn't it? Not lovely. I bet you're really pleased about that. I think this Newcastle team is struggling to adapt, not only to being without Isak, because he was a huge part of the way they played, but I think Isak and Walter Marler are total opposite sides of the spectrum as a player. Both fantastic at what they do. But when you've got Isak running behind, those through balls, little slide ball balls through for him, that was massive for Newcastle. It was a massive way when they played. It was a massive part of how they played. Uses his explosive pace to get through. Walter Marler, you've not got that. You don't have that option. So you've got to play into him. But if you do that, players have got to get in and around him. Your wide players have got to come in and around him. I don't see that they're doing that. I think other players are struggling to adapt to your new centre forward, even though he, for me, has done a great job. Yesterday was a massive example. I thought they looked lost. They didn't know how to use him. They didn't supply him. I don't think they went into his feet much. Didn't go into the air. This is the thing. I think we're in modern football now. We're in such a rut with this. We're scared to throw crosses into the box. When you've done it against Arsenal, Walter Marler banged it in the net. Off his head into the net, bang. You're not doing enough of that. I don't think Newcastle are putting enough crosses into the box. When you've got a centre forward like that, play to your strengths. Also yesterday, I'm sure I saw Dan Burn was on long throws. I don't care how long his throw is. If he's 6'5" or whatever, what is he doing taking the throws? Are the others totally useless and got no strength in their arms and shoulders? He should be the first man in the box. Him and Walter Marler would absolutely cause chaos from long throws. Other teams are using their set pieces to their advantage massively. Arsenal's won. I don't think Newcastle do. Not as well as others. For the size of their team, they've got a big team. They should be doing better from set pieces, in my opinion. There's no doubt the quality will come through. I believe they'll still finish. They may still finish in the Champions League place. The league's tight. Man United have improved this year, unfortunately. Tottenham are going to be there or thereabouts, even though they're going through into a new manager and they're not sure about him. What I'd say with Newcastle is maybe they have tried to change too much too soon. I know they've got injuries. I think the fullbacks, I think Livramento's a huge miss. I think he's a much better player than he gets credit for. I know the Newcastle fans love him. People who know about football will understand how good Tino Livramento is. I think he's absolutely superb. He's a massive miss. I think the fullbacks are a problem for Newcastle. You look like you can be got at. The amount of times yesterday West Ham played through you shocked me, shocked the hell out of me. I could not believe it. But yeah, I'd say the recruitment's been a mixed bag. Howe at the back's been a fantastic signing. Very impressed with him. Malik Howe, I think his name is really good. Hope I pronounced that right. Very good. Mixed bag recruitment. Takes time. That takes time. They're not all going to come in here and you look at Liverpool at the moment. You don't want to talk about Liverpool, we know. How many players they've got? Top names are coming in the summer. They look a shambles. Too many square pegs in round holes. Too many players they're trying to throw in at once. It's got to be a gradual thing sometimes. I think Newcastle had such a good understanding in their team. They were a well-oiled machine. I think you've lost a little bit of that now. The cohesion seems to have disappeared slightly. But once that comes back, there's no doubt in my mind that they'll fly out there and they'll be in the mix for the Champions League, surely. And I'd like to see them have a proper cup run in, say, the FA Cup. Champions League, anything can happen there. Anything can happen. At St James's Park, anything can happen. Over a two-legger, you can beat anyone, in my opinion. Depending, you don't get smashed away from home 5-0, you might be all right. But if you bring someone back to St James's in the Champions League and you're in with a chance, I always fancy Newcastle. That crowd is incredible. It's intimidating. And I think that would be a massive for you this season, the crowd. Because at the moment, I think with the players, they can say, we can listen to these players and pundits and say, well, the players need something to go on. I don't buy that rubbish. Don't buy that rubbish. I think the players, they're the experienced professionals. They know how to approach games. I think their approach has been poor to games this season, right, on the whole. I really do. I've watched Newcastle a few times and I thought, God, they just don't look. I don't get it. Don't see what their plan is. Yesterday was so lethargic. It was so poor to watch. As a Newcastle fan who would have spent loads of money going up to London, or down to London, sorry, to watch that yesterday, must have been so frustrating to watch that. Especially when you've been doing so well for the last couple of years. But yeah, they need to get a bit of consistency back. And I do believe they'll get that. And I do believe Eddie Howe will get that into them. But yeah, it's not going to be an easy season. You have to earn everything in the Premier League. I can only hope for you guys, the Toon army there, that it all comes together. But yeah, thanks for watching. Take care. Have a good one.